Bradford v Derby, November 1984. Let's rewind to 1984. The miners' strike, Band-Aid and a nightmare on Elm Street were all in the news. But so was this tasty encounter between two very underestimated firms. Bradford Ointment and Derby's Lunatic Fringe. Let's hear the stories. Derby Lunatic Fringe member Paul told us. You could feel it before we'd even hit West Yorkshire. That hum in the minibus, the miners' strike everywhere you looked, towns on edge, everyone skint, everyone angry. And us DLF lads buzzing because Bradford away was always lively. It was mine and Wayne's 18th as well, so there was no chance we were taking it steady. We piled out near the Star Bar, first row outside, still early doors, and straight away Bradford were at us. Proper mob too, about 40 of them, pushing up the hill, that big mixed race lad at the front in a chunky blue jumper, the one the older lad said might have been Pat. He looked ready for anyone. They drove us back a few steps at first, but once we got all our lot out the boozer, it was like someone dropped a match in petrol. It went off bang in the road, elbows, boots, arms flying everywhere, the noise unbelievable. I saw one of our lads, Rocky from Ripley, swinging at two Bradford at once. Next thing, someone shouts that a shopping trolley's been rammed into the doorway of the Star Bar, trapping half the Bradford lads inside. Proper chaos. Someone told me years later that a city lad had done it waiting for reinforcements. If true, fair play, clever move. We pushed them down the hill, scrapping all the way, every few steps stopping because someone grabbed someone else. All the while the police were struggling to get control, too busy slipping on broken glass and shouting things none of us listened to. By the time we reached the ground, I was sweating like mad, shirt hanging off me, knuckles puffed. We piled into the side stand, the same one that later burned down, tragically, and straight away we clocked Bradford in the paddock below, staring up, waiting. You could tell they were up for it. It wasn't one of those aways where you take over and that's it. They wanted to go just as much as we did. Rocky got lifted not long after we got in. Typical. He threw something at the OB, or maybe a Bradford lad, memories hazy, but they jumped him quick, except we weren't having it. A bunch of us steamed into the police line, just instinct, and for a minute or two it was absolute carnage. Seats ripping, people tumbling over rows, officers swinging truncheons at anything that moved. Someone swore a police dog got loose. I half believe it. I heard growling and a copper shouting, "Get hold of it," while we were still trading digs with city lads in the next block. The fence between the stand and the paddock, I'll never forget that. Big wooden section, Derby and Bradford both surging against it until the OB dragged it out like it was a fallen tree. I remember one copper, ginger moustache, came up after things calmed a bit and said, "That was brilliant, lads," like it was a Suddy League game. He even asked if anyone saw him lamp a Derby lad with his baton. Turned out he used to play footy with one of our mates, before he got booted off the force. Derby scored first and the whole world exploded again. Bottles, bits of concrete, the same stuff mentioned in the paper, came showering down. I swear I heard the whoosh of a lump of rubble fly past my ear. A 12-year-old Bradford kid near the cop later said he couldn't believe he didn't get hit. Neither could we. Inside, it was toe-to-toe, best fight I'd ever been in a ground. Just pure, raw, no weapons, just bodies going for it. Both firms proper game. One of their older lads shouted at us, "You'll have to fight every one of us." And the reply from behind me was, "We already are." Second half, I barely watched. Couldn't tell you what happened until Goodman scored for Bradford at their end, and their whole lot surged forward, climbing over seats to get at us again. The police were starting to lose the plot. They'd break one group up, and another outbreak would spark up 10 yards away. I remember thinking, this is what away days are meant to be. When the final whistle went, everyone knew it wasn't over. Coming out onto the street, the tension hit you like heat. Both firms pouring out opposite sides, meeting in the middle, and it all happens again. Punches, running, grabbing shirts, a few Derby getting clipped and getting back up smiling. Nothing too serious, just the usual. I saw a Bradford lad waving one of their broken fences like a trophy. Bit mad. Lads from both sides kicking bottles along the road as they chased each other. We finally regrouped near where we'd parked up. One of our lads, Ray, limped over with stitches in his face and ear from a scrap the day before in the DeLacy with some Geordies building the new Asda. He got out of a taxi and just rejoined the carnage like it was nothing. That was the era. Mad, stupid, brilliant. Driving home, battered and buzzing, someone asked, "Best away ever?" And honestly, aye. Bradford 84 had everything. Two firms giving it all they had, police losing control, fences flying, seats ripped, scrapping before, during, after. A proper day out, great times, never to be seen again. Bradford Ointment member Chris told us. You could tell Derby were coming before they even reached the city. Word had been flying around all week. DLF are bringing numbers. It's their lads' 18th. Expect trouble. In 84, with the miners' strike kicking off and half of West Yorkshire ready to fight anyone or anything, that only added fuel to the fire. We met outside the Star Bar, usual meeting point, tight little street where you can see trouble coming. There were maybe 40 of us at first, proper mix of young uns and older heads, and Pat, big mixed-race lad, blue chunky jumper, right up front as always. If Pat stepped forward, you stepped forward. Simple as that. We saw Derby coming up the hill, making noise like they owned the place, and we weren't having that. We surged at them first, pushed them back a few yards. For a minute they looked surprised, maybe expected us to scatter like some clubs did when they arrived. But once their lot poured out of the Star Bar, it was on. Proper on. Boots skidding on the road, people slipping against cars, fists going everywhere. One of theirs, I swear it was a lad called Rocky, was swinging madly, shouting something about Ripley. The noise was unreal. Someone said a city lad shoved a shopping trolley from Morrison's into the pub door to stall the Derby lot. Could have been true. Chaos just seemed to happen around us back then. We drove them back down the hill, but then they regrouped, tight little unit, and suddenly it was just running battles all the way towards Valley Parade. There was no fear, just adrenaline. Half the police looked more bothered about not falling over than stopping anything. Closer to the ground, the crowds thickened, normal fans trying to weave out of our way, while Derby was still shouting across the road. Someone lobbed a stone, someone else kicked a bottle. Standard. Inside the ground, we made sure to get the paddock and the areas below the seats where we knew Derby's firm always tried to settle. They came in loud, piling into the side stand, and straight away we were throwing words, gestures, threats. It was building like a pressure cooker. A young lad next to me, only 12 or so, kept saying how buzzing he felt. Daft little sod didn't realize how lucky he was later. When Derby scored first, everything exploded. Proper madness. Bits of concrete being chucked. Valley Parade always had loose lumps around back then, and seats were shuddering as everyone surged. I remember feeling a chunk whistle past my head and smash against the barrier. The 12-year-old just laughed, didn't even realize how close it had been. Derby tried storming down closer to us, and suddenly the OB waded in, truncheons swinging. Some of our older lads shoved back, telling them to let us get at Derby. A copper screamed something at Pat, and Pat just laughed, proper belly laugh, which only wound everyone up more. Then came the fence incident. There was this big wooden section separating the paddock from Derby's section. Both sets kept hammering against it whenever one side surged. Eventually the whole thing tore away like cardboard. Police dragged it off like it was debris from a building site. Everyone cheered, not even sure why, just part of the chaos. Up in the seats, you could see Derby scrapping with the OB. And a few times they came right down the aisle to try and get to us. Fair play to them. They were outnumbered, but they weren't hiding. One of our lads later said it was the best punch-up in a ground he'd ever seen. Both lots toe-to-toe, just pure terrace warfare, nothing sneaky. I swear at one point a police dog was loose, circling like it didn't know who to bite. Someone shouted, "It's after the ref," which cracked everyone up, even in the middle of it all. Goodman scored for us. Cracker at the Bradford end, and the whole place erupted. People leaping forward, trying to climb towards Derby, OB losing all control again. I got shoved over 2 seats and landed on some poor old fella's lap. He just grinned, said, "Better than the match this," and helped push me back up. The final whistle didn't calm anything. It just reset it. Outside the ground, the atmosphere tightened again. We spotted Derby coming down from the side stand, and we moved straight at them. No hesitation. Our manor, our rules. The first clash outside was messy. People slipping on wet concrete, others swinging scarves weighted with coins, though most of it was just bare-knuckle rugby tackles, pulling lads down by their jackets. One Derby lad tried to use a rolled-up wooden stake that had snapped off the fencing earlier, but an OB grabbed it off him before he got close. We chased pockets of Derby down the slope. Then they chased us back when reinforcements arrived. One of their older boys, red-faced, sweating loud as anything, screamed, "Come on then," and it all went up again. I saw Pat steaming into 3 of theirs, holding his ground like a boulder. Some of their lads were game as anything, proper tough, giving as good as they got. And you have to respect that even when you're trying to chin them. The OB formed a line eventually, truncheons out, shields up. "Back off!" one shouted. Then another said, "Same as earlier, bloody brilliant, but enough now." He'd fought half of us earlier inside. Mad times. As Derby filtered back towards their coaches, we stood at the top of the slope, still shouting, still buzzing, feeling like we'd defended our turf properly. No one could say we'd hidden. No one could say we'd been overrun. One of the older lads clapped us and said, "Different class today, boys. Derby came strong, but we showed 'em our city." And he was right. It might have been madness, it might have been daft, it might have been dangerous, but in those days, it was everything. We thank Paul and Chris for their recollections of this mad day back in 1984. It's clear that Derby had a massive following for this encounter. Fair play to Bradford for holding their own, against the odds maybe. Thanks for watching. Please comment if you were there. Also, share, like and subscribe, as it really helps our channel grow. Until the next video, bye for now.